In this video, I'm going to try to demonstrate how to record an audio track, edit, and then export in SoundForge Audio Studio version 14. If you haven't watched my previous video introducing SoundForge Audio Studio version 14, you can click the link above or in the description and you can watch that, and you can actually see why I recommend SoundForge Audio Studio version 14 if you are recording, editing, or mastering audio tracks. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is to make sure that we are on the same platform, because the layout can be changed, and that's a user preference. Is under the workspace, click default layout, so you'll have the same layout as me. And the next thing I want to do is set up our audio setting. Now it all depends on your audio interface, whether you are using audio interface or not. So the first thing we need to do is set our audio input. And we can click on audio settings. Here we're selecting audio device type Windows Classic Wave Driver. Now even though I can select ASIO drivers, like my Yamaha Steinberg USB driver, and it will work, but for best I found to actually use Windows Classic Wave Driver. Remembering that SoundForge Audio Studio is mainly for audio editing and not live recording, so ASIO really is not that required, and it will work best under Windows Classic Wave Driver. Here we can actually select all of our inputs. I'm using my AG03. We can certainly rename them as well. Here, as you can see, I have already renamed my channel 1 as my AG03 left input and channel 2 as my right input. SoundForge Audio Studio 14 can have up to 6 channels as a surround 5.1 channel audio system, both for recording and for playback. If you are not using 5.1 surround system, all you need is channel 1 and channel 2 for playback and for recording. We click apply and click OK. SoundForge Audio Studio now can actually communicate with your audio interface or the built-in audio sound card of your PC or your laptop. There are many ways we can actually start recording audio. We can actually click the record button here. We can go to the import and click the record button there, and that will automatically create a stereo track and start recording from the selected input channels. So let's start by clicking the record button here. And we are already recording, and you can actually see on the screen as Audio Studio recording, we can see the waveform. To stop, we click the stop button, and this will stop recording the audio. On the screen, now we can actually see our recorded audio tracks for channel 1 and channel 2. They are identical because the audio interface is coming from as a stereo signal, even though it's a mono microphone. At the top, we can actually see the overall audio from the start to finish, and where at the bottom, we can actually zoom in. And then using the window of the top, we can quickly find and locate a certain section of our recording. So as you can see, navigation is quite easy in SoundForge Audio Studio 14, especially if you have a lengthy recording, like a podcast, that you need to edit. To demonstrate some of the basic editing capabilities of SoundForge Audio Studio version 14, I'm going to do a mock-up podcast and gonna do some mistakes, and then go back, edit that, and make sure that it sounds really nice, exactly how I want the podcast starting to be, and then we're gonna export that audio. So, but first, let us select all of the old recording, hit the delete button, and we can start all fresh. So here we go. Hi everyone, Vache here from Recording Studio 9, and thanks for joining me again I'll try that again. Hi everyone, Vache here from Recording Studio 9, and thanks for joining me again to my podcast, demonstrating audio SoundForge Studio demonstrating SoundForge Audio Studio version 14 and its editing capabilities. I hope you join me. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Thank you and have a good night. Thank you and have a great time making music. Well, there we go. That's the recording. Of course, a lot of mistakes, deliberate mistakes. Let's see what we can actually hear. Hi everyone, Vache here from Recording Studio 9, and thanks for joining me again I'll try that again. So let's start editing the wrong parts of our podcast recording. To go into edit mode, we select the toolbar Edit Tool. SoundForge Audio Studio allows you to select the left, the right, or both channels at the same time. We can see how where my mouse is, there's a small L, the letter L, on top of my mouse cursor. And when I move to the bottom, that turns into an R for the right. Now I can click my mouse and select the left, or I can also click and select only the right channel. Or I can click, select, and move down, and this will select both channels. Double clicking in this area here will select the whole recorded audio. To demonstrate the difference, selecting one channel, I've just selected one channel, and now I'm going to use the cut toolbar option. You can see it only deleted that section of the audio of the left channel, leaving the right channel intact. This can be tricky sometimes, because a lot of the times you want to edit both left and right channels at the same time. It's going to undo that. You can certainly select both channels and cut them that way, or copy them and paste them. I'm going to zoom into the area to make a better judgment of my cut. I'm just going to move it right at the beginning, leaving only a few seconds of audio before my correct recorded audio to start. And then I'm just going to click the delete button or cut it out. And now my audio starts right from the beginning where I recorded correctly. Hi everyone, Vache here from Recording Studio 9, and thanks for joining me again to my podcast demonstrating Audio SoundForge Studio. Okay, that's the part that we don't need again. So I can easily zoom into that section, select, and cut. Simple as that. And then continue. Demonstrating SoundForge Audio Studio version 14 and its editing capabilities. I hope you join me. I hope you enjoy this podcast. And again, this is the part we don't need. I hope you enjoy this podcast. And from here, thank you and have a good night. Well, that's the part we don't need. And this sort of pause that I had there, I'm going to remove that as well. And the last ending. And then here's something that we can do. We can go to the event tool. Finally, go into events mode. And then going right to the top corner, as you can see, it says fade. Now we can actually fade out that section. And we can also do fade in. Now the event tool is another tool that allows you to not only do fades as you have seen, but we can also control gain. You can also do movement and crossfades. Let's say I'll select that and move it. I can actually move the audio to the left and the right, and SoundForge Audio Studio automatically creates a crossfade. But we will discuss those editing options in a later video. So finally, before we finish off and export, let's have a quick listen of our edited audio. Hi everyone, Vacha here from Recording Studio 9, and thanks for joining me again to my podcast demonstrating SoundForge Audio Studio version 14 and its editing capabilities. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Thank you and have a great time making music. Now that we have done our audio editing, let's do a simple processing. A simple process would be at least normalizing the audio so we get the maximum level without clipping. We can do this quite easily under the effects. Clicking Normalize. SoundForge Audio Studio 14 has lots of processing options, which we will look at some of them at a later video, or you can experiment with them at your own pace. It also supports effects and effects favorites as your own VST plugins. But for now, let's normalize our audio. We want to normalize it, maybe not to 100%. I tend to give at least -1 dB. So that when we are converting this WAV file into an MP3, we give ourselves some headroom for deterring, so we don't get distorted output. We can preview it, or we can apply the effect. I'm just simply going to apply the effect. Of course, we can also use our Ozone 9 elements, but I'm not going to do that today. That's for another video, which will also include our mastering section to master our audio for YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, or any other sound mastering and leveling options available under our quick selection options. So let's export our audio. We go into the export section. Of course, it goes without any saying. Make sure you always save your project. By saving your project, especially in the SoundForge Audio Studio format, this will allow you to come back and re-edit, and all your setup will be there. All your events and all your cuts and movements will already be there, and you can always re-edit. But here we can also select other export options once we are happy with our final output. Here we can select the easiest one as MP3. We can see what format it automatically selected. A 256 kilobit, 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit stereo MP3. We also have templates that we can use at different quality of the MP3 format. For music, I would highly recommend 320 kilobits CD audio format, but for audio, 256 will be sufficient and of great quality. And we can click give it a name, and we can click save, and our audio file will be saved as MP3 file. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, make sure you give me the thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great time making music. Cheerio, guys.